Hi. Welcome to Spoiler Lab. Scientists discover that quantum theory can be used to transfer skills from one brain to another, and they freely spread their technology. Today we will recap the story of the 2015 film, Mind Gamers. Kreutz, dressed in a priest's habit, kneels in front of a gigantic mural of Christ. Monsignor Mosca approaches him and orders him to stand up. Mosca mentions that people have been talking about Kreutz's work. Kreutz defends himself and says that physics and faith are closely related. He then says that religion is dead and his work can be used to bring the faithful back to the church. However, Mosca makes a cryptic statement about seeing the records at the orphanage. Mosca orders Kreutz to open a door and they both step in. Mosca calls Kreutz a man of science who became a priest when he needed funds for his research. Kreutz's assistants are waiting for them in the room. They are gathered around something. The assistants spread out and Monsignor Mosca sees a child wired and connected with some machine. He is shocked and fingers the cross hanging from a chain on his neck as he exclaims. He moves abruptly towards the child but is restrained by Kreutz's assistants. Kreutz takes Mosca's staff and hits him twice as he falls. The young bioengineers introduce themselves starting with Dylan, followed by Agnes, next is Maddie, who is followed by Rollo, and then Jackson. They are all research students of DXM Academy, founded by Kreutz. They are given a chip, which they place on their necks. Jackson is at his computer watching a man calling out for help. He swipes it away and leaves. The next scene shows Agnes in bed as an alarm wakes them up. Jackson navigates his way through sleeping students on his way outside. He wakes Dylan and Rollo on his way out. He goes to his office. He sees a speck of blood on the floor and stoops to examine it when the assessor walks up to him. Jackson tells him that he is early by way of greeting and walks to his workspace. The assessor questions his choice of team members. Jackson explains why he chose all of them. For Rollo, he says he chose him because of his laboratory skills and experience. He says Dylan is good with emotional mapping. The assessor calls them deviants and devourers. Jackson goes on to explain that he chose Maddie and Agnes. The assessor ends his questions by saying they trust Jackson, which is why he was given authorized access. Jackson and Dylan watch a video of an experiment carried out at an American military base. In the video, the first man was able to control the brain of the other. Back at the academy, all the team members gather around a paralyzed dancer named Voltaire, who will be the subject of their experiments. Jackson tells Voltaire to use his mind to raise his hand, but it fails. The scene switches to the assessor telling Jackson that the management of the academy is getting impatient after 2 years of no results. Agnes is watching a colony of bats flying high above the buildings. The bats come down and fly past her. Dylan approaches her and she searches his pockets and takes a sachet of what is presumably a drug. Maddie steps in and takes it from her. Out of earshot of the others, Rollo tells Jackson that Agnes will not be able to pass through the security checks because of the drugs she has taken. He also says that security at the academy had never been this tight and that whatever they are here for must be big since they were doing complete biometric checks. Jackson says that Agnes will be fine. They all pass through the door, beginning with Jackson. The other watches Agnes comes through. When she passes and gets to them, they gather around her. They notice a security guy walking towards them. Jackson leads Agnes away and the others follow. They are forced to stop by a ring of security. However, the security guys stop them because they are clearing a way for someone important to pass through. The important man is wearing a black hood and sitting in a wheelchair pushed by Monsignor Mosca. All the students are now sitting in a lecture hall while De Silva, one of the staff at the academy, introduces Gabriel Kreutz. Mosca pushes the hooded man onto the stage. The hood is removed. However, Kreutz wears a gold-colored mask on the lower part of his face. Some seconds into his speech, he experiences discomfort at the side of his abdomen. Mosca rushes to his side to help him. However, he declines. Instead, Mosca pushes him from one end of the stage to another. Kreutz introduces his invention, which he named Enoch. It is a machine that operates like the human brain. Kreutz said that he is searching for a group that would be able to dedicate Enoch to their work alone. Before he continues, he is interrupted by a young lady standing at the back of the hall. She questions Kreutz's motives for the creation of Enoch. She ends her short speech by telling the students to wake up, after which she walks out. Jackson follows her out of the hall. He eventually catches up with her on the roof of the building, where she stands on the edge. The next scene shows Agnes waking up from a dream. Jackson is in the room with her and pulls her up. He sits beside her and asks her if she is alright. Maddie walks in at this point and sits beside her. Rollo also walks in. Dylan then comes through the door with pills in both his outstretched hands. Maddie snaps at Jackson to take Dylan out of the room, and Jackson gets up to do that. As Dylan and Jackson step into the hallway, Jackson hears his name. He meters away in the middle of the hallway. They walk towards him. After exchanging greetings, the assessor gives Jackson an envelope and tells him that the master has summoned him. Jackson steps out in a suit and a black car picks him up. In the car, he watches a video of his younger self explaining an experiment he performed on rats. The car stops on a deserted street and he gets out. Mosca picks him up and escorts him down a poorly lit hallway to a door. On the way, 3 hooded figures pass them. When they get to the door, it opens and Mosca pushes Jackson in. The light comes on and Jackson realizes that he is standing over a chasm. He looks down and sees Enoch down the hole. He is fascinated and stoops down to have a closer look. As he stands up to admire a cross he sees on the wall in front of him, he hears Kreutz's voice behind him. He turns back to see Kreutz in his wheelchair, wearing a white jacket over black trousers. Kreutz tells him that he once served God when it suited his purposes. He then says that his current state might have been a punishment for his pretense. He accuses Jackson of using his team members to pursue his own ends. Jackson denied this. Kreutz promises to support Jackson to achieve his aim of personal glory in exchange for the restoration of his body. In the next scene, Jackson, still in his suit, runs to a gate, opens it and bangs it shut. He turns back to find the lady who questioned Kreutz in the lecture hall behind him. He imagines both of them in bed. He also sees her falling from a roof. This last vision jerks him back to reality. Apparently, the lady isn't behind him, and it is all a vision or hallucination. Agnes is sitting on the floor and writing on sheets of paper with blood-red ink. Meanwhile, Maddie is listening to a Professor Marcus Deeks demonize the biotags that the students were given when they first got to the academy. Back in his office, Jackson explains his latest experiment to Voltaire. In the experiment, Jackson is able to get a maimed and dead rat back to life using Enoch. Voltaire is shocked when he sees it. Stella, the lady in Jackson's hallucinations, suddenly appears and asks a question. Jackson is slightly annoyed. He tries to find out who she is and what she is doing in the lab, but she deflects his questions with her own questions. She then tells him that Agnes is finished. On hearing this, Jackson runs out of the lab. Agnes drops her quill and strides out to the roof. She is putting on a little wing. While still running, Jackson is tripped by Stella. He stumbles and falls to the floor. Maddie comes out to the roof just as Agnes starts to fall while Jackson watches from below. Agnes lands face first on the concrete while Maddie screams and Jackson watches in shock. All the students hold a candlelight vigil for Agnes. Maddie walks into Agnes's former room. She is sobbing as she does so. She feels someone close and abruptly turns back to see Stella just behind her. Stella is wearing Agnes's bathrobe and Maddie points this out. Stella removes the robe and walks out as Maddie glares at her. De Silva tells Jackson, Rollo, and Dylan that a new replacement has been found for their team. She describes this new member as too brilliant, and she hopes that working in a group will tame her. Jackson, Rollo, and Dylan sit quietly while Stella, with her legs on the table, is sipping coffee. Rollo tells her that hot liquids are not allowed in the lab. When he asks what she is, she says she is a nanotech quantum biologist. He welcomes her to the team. She goes to stand in front of one of the monitors in the lab and the display changes. Alarmed, Jackson hurries over to the monitor. He asks her what she did to the monitors, but she ignores him and walks away. Later in their room, Rollo explains that Agnes's suicide was her final proof that we don't die, we keep on existing elsewhere. Jackson says that someone tampered with his experiment. Rollo is livid. He gets annoyed at Jackson for talking about a rat when they are talking about Agnes's death. Dylan calms him and says that people grieve in different ways. Meanwhile, Maddie is in her room reading a line from a religious book repeatedly. Stella leaves the campus and walks to a nearby complex filled with abandoned buildings in various stages of disrepair. Some weird characters use the facility for their dance practice. The rest of the team, except Maddie, tail her. They stay out of sight of both her and the dancers. She stops, and the dancers gather around her. Voltaire is brought to her. Apparently, he is one of the dancers. At that moment, Rollo and the others come barging in with Rollo threatening the dancers if they don't let Stella go. However, he calms down as he takes in the situation before him. They bring Voltaire into the lab. Rollo wonders aloud how Voltaire can move his hand. It occurs to him that Stella had access to Enoch. But he then wonders how she got the codes. Stella walks in and says that they all contributed to making it possible. Maddie also walks in at that moment and asks if Agnes's death also played a part because it opened a space for Stella on the team. She removes her biotag, says the project must stop and walks away. Voltaire tells them they can't stop because this is how he gets his body and life back. As Rollo and Dylan attempt to follow her, Stella turns back and performs some of Voltaire's moves. Everyone is shocked. Rollo says that it means Stella and Voltaire are both connected on the network. Jackson accuses Stella of stealing the codes for Enoch, but she says that Kreutz invited her. Jackson is annoyed that Kreutz gave Stella all his work and research. However, Rollo counters that it is actually his research which Jackson stole for himself. He adds that he doesn't care because friends are supposed to share. He asks Stella to connect him to the network. He also throws a few stunts. Dylan also permits Stella to connect him. Both of them run off to test their new skills. They talk about how they need more people to enable Voltaire to move his whole body. Voltaire says they could connect his crew. But Jackson says they are too few. Rollo suggests that they could connect all the students. Stella disagrees and says that someone has to be off the network to act as the control. She suggests that Jackson takes up the role since that is what he has always wanted. Meanwhile, Mosca wakes Kreutz up and puts a biotag on him. Kreutz has a vision of him in bed with Da Silva. Jackson goes to knock on Maddie's door. She is watching another video of Deeks. Jackson keeps banging on her door to get her attention. He also listens through the door at the video. Maddie eventually comes to the door. She has a big stick in her hand. Maddie is about to hit the door with the stick when Rollo calls his name and takes him away. He comments that Jackson looks as white as a ghost. The students are at a ball held to commemorate their graduation from the academy. Meanwhile, Mosca is preparing Kreutz. Rollo and Dylan start dancing together. Rollo contacts Jackson and tells him to begin. The assessor walks in at this moment. The first subject is a girl named Minnie who says she doesn't know how to dance. Rollo convinces her to try. And through her connection to the network, she begins dancing like a natural. Voltaire comes in with his crew and they all pick biotags and place them on their necks. Dylan is at the turntable. Jackson urges him to give the word. Dylan makes a short speech about joining everyone in the hall together. He then counts down and jumps into the crowd at the count of 1. Everyone starts dancing the same way while Voltaire and Kreutz begin regaining some of their mobility. Jackson notices that comms and scans are down. He tries to reach his friends with this info, but they can't hear him. Voltaire regains total mobility and joins the dancing. Meanwhile, Jackson sees the video of a little girl that looks like Stella running up a staircase. The dancers have now moved out of the building and are standing on the steps to it. Meanwhile, Stella watches from a rooftop. Jackson also sees Stella on his screen. Kreutz is finally on his feet. Jackson notices a red figure in the middle of the dancers. He recognizes the person as Maddie. Maddie comes to the front of the group and removes her hood. Rollo is in front. He recognizes her but is surprised to see her dressed like that. She attacks him with the baseball bat in her hand. Seeing this, Jackson runs out of the lab. When he falls, she takes his biotag and puts it on her neck. Her action causes some disruption on the network. She goes on to attack the other dancers/students. Voltaire and some others fight back. She overpowers them, except for one who knocks her out. Stella is still watching from her perch and displays some emotion when Maddie is knocked out. Jackson eventually gets there. He is intercepted by Da Silva, who accuses him of killing all the students because of his ambition. She then runs away. As she runs, the assessor ambushes her. As he starts to beat her, Jackson comes to attack him. He faces Jackson, and they fight. Jackson eventually overpowers him and knocks him out. He then goes to the bloody Da Silva. Her last words are, "It could have been so different. You could have been so different." Jackson is standing among the fallen bodies of his friends and colleagues when he sees Stella standing in the distance. He keeps looking at her until he is knocked down by a black car. Stella mouths the words "I'm sorry" and walks away. She walks to where Enoch is kept. She sees Mosca strapped to a bed of some sort. Kreutz walks in. He briefly talks about his struggle to control Enoch and how he has finally mastered it. Stella turns to face him. As she looks at him, the lights go off, and the door closes. Slightly alarmed, he asks what this means and who she is. We see a flashback to when she was a little girl, and he was a priest. Back in the present, Kreutz realizes that she is Enoch. She starts to fall back into the chasm. He holds her back, but she disintegrates, and he is left holding thin air as he freezes in place. The next scene shows a standing Kreutz delivering a lecture to the students of his academy. Jackson and his team are all among the audience. Stella is also standing at the back of the hall. Da Silva comes out as he ends his speech, and they hold hands as the students give him a standing ovation. Stella smiles and leaves the hall. The next scene shows her at the abandoned building complex as the buildings disintegrate and start swirling around. A vacuum appears in front of her, and a drop of blood falls from her eye into it. What do you think of this movie? Please leave your replies in the comment section. If you enjoyed this recap, remember to like and subscribe so that you can watch new recaps as they are uploaded.